What's going on, everybody? What's up, you Kev maniacs out there? Big Kev for Big Kev's World here with a video that I usually don't do, but I'm here with the one and only, the Mr. Prodigal Hill, and we're going to be talking about 24 election. We're going to be talking about World War III. We're going to be talking about Trump, Biden, Desantis, and everything in between. So get your popcorn ready, and if any of you are butthurt, I want to tell you right now, go ahead and get your butt plugs and your tissues, and cry some more, because you're about to.
Yeah, that I'm pretty sure of. You already noticed how much I've got them crying already, especially on BitChute. Which, by the way, you don't mind if I go ahead and rip this video and put it up on BitChute and Rumble, do you?
No, sir, I don't mind at all.
Yeah, we'll hurt some more feelings here together because, the shills out there, you'll need something to go ahead and respond to, because ultimately, looking at your freaking platforms these days, the traffic on YouTube went way down drastically. You know, it's hard to get any organic traffic. It's hard to get organic traffic on Facebook and Twitter as well. So you'll need something to react to. And since you banned us all, then, this material should be like freaking, heaven sent for you.
I was going to ask you, Paul, so the first thing I wanted to bring up is that there's a new policy on YouTube that's going to be for the 2024 election. They claim that they're promising, which we know YouTube tends to lie, and Google tends to lie, but they said that they will not take down people's videos that are against the Democratic person, which will probably be Joe Biden. So, do you believe it, or do you think that YouTube is being full of shit and just tugging people to be like, hey, go ahead and talk, but we're going to knock your video all the way down?
The deal is that YouTube is going to have to start making concessions. Actually, technically, considering all the stuff that has went down over the past, I'd say, 4 to 5 years, with all the stuff that's went down, with stuff that's coming to revelations now, as we could sit there and say, the stuff that's coming out now, these people really should be thankful at the end of the day that we're not as reactionary as they pretend we are. Which, mind you, that if you're not a communist, well, then you're a Republican, you're a bigot, you're a Russian agent, you're a MAGA Trump supporter. That's according to the sociopaths that are over there in California that just label everybody. And they've marginalized their base so much that they have no traffic. You've killed your own platforms. I didn't have to. You know what I'm saying? All I had to do was point out your shortcomings, and you destroyed those platforms on yourself, so they don't have any real metric to judge where the nation is right now at the end of the day. So I think that, my channel, one of the things that got my channel taken down was questioning the integrity of the election, the 2020 election, which, mind you, a majority of the people question the results, particularly the numbers, just insane. And, with that, exposing algorithms, exposing, the bare numbers behind it, and comparing it to elections in the past, it's, not hard to sit there and see the discrepancies in the 2020 election. You know what I'm saying? Especially when
you see Joe Biden get more votes than the Messiah that the Democrats had in Barack Obama. There's no way that guy would have even more votes than even Obama would. So yeah, I think what the problem is, people didn't realize that the reason why we didn't believe the election in 2020 is because the numbers that you just pointed out. It's not the fact that we're like, oh my God, Biden, oh, y'all cheated. No, there is no way in hell that a guy like Joe Biden, with the approval rating that he's got right now, there is no way that he had 80 million votes.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, and it's an argument. Well, a debate, a discussion I had with somebody that's a more left-leaning socialist type of person, who ultimately, you have conversations And the socialists are absolutely worst, are the worst at any kind of real math. And particularly anything that makes sense, they have to embellish stuff. That's the only way, because, I mean, they're borderline communist. And they have to embellish everything. So when you're having a discussion and, you know, with these people, and they're like, well, you think that Trump got 74 million? I don't think Trump got 74 million votes. I think that's absolutely fucking insane.
Yep.
I think he got more votes than Biden. But even if Trump did get 74 million votes, and I was to believe that he got 74 million votes, it would be impossible for Biden to get 81 million. It's just not practical at all. And so I think that, you know, you're not doing your due diligence. And this is the thing, and this is what people don't understand about this product. Like, you know, I told you I don't watch a lot of YouTube anymore.
Right.
And the reason why I told you, and this was on your Facebook live stream, is the reason why I don't watch a lot of YouTube anymore is everybody will say the same thing. It's as bad as the mainstream media. They all have these specific talking points. They have to hit the talking points now. And it's not the same as what we did, where you would have your opinion, like you and I could have a feud over the Batman 22 movie. You know what I'm saying? I would call you up, say, let's do a feud. I didn't like the movie. You did like the movie. We can go ahead. We can go back and forth, whatever it is. I call Stephen Rose, Dark Horse, whatever. You know, WJ. Same thing. We all had differing, you know, it was more diverse. Now, you may sit there and say, oh, well, TYT's got a gay commentator, and then they got a transgender commentator, and then they got a black commentator and all this other stuff. That's diversity. No, that's not diversity. They all say the same shit. Just because they're different colors or different, they're all saying the same things. There's no diversity, no intellectual. That's the diversity that counts. What's your opinion, Ben? What's your opinion, Rashad? What's your opinion? What's your actual opinion, not what your talking points are? So this is the same thing it is. DD Cobra will put out a talking point, and then you'll have the Quartering come out and echo his talking point. And then you'll have Melody Mack come out there because that's her crew. She's going to, you know, freaking, you know, echo the talking points and whatnot. And it's the same old stuff. So if I hear it from DD Cobra, why the hell am I subbed to Melanie Mack? Because she's just going to say the same shit. And if I hear it from Melanie Mack, then why the hell would I be subbed to the Quartering? You see how the market becomes saturated. And this was ultimately how guys like us ended up finding, at the time, you deleted your channel and my channel got terminated for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But whenever we had our channels, that's how we accumulated subs, was not going with the narratives, with cutting away from that, with doing other, you know, research and investigation and putting out different side of the story. And, you know, now everybody on YouTube, I mean, you got good videos coming out every once in a while from these channels, but for the most part, it's all generic. It's all cookie cutter, same old stuff now. And it has a lot to do with the because like I said, you know, whenever you look at socialists and when you look at communists, they can't allow competition. They can't allow actual diversity, but they have to use it to go ahead and justify, you know, banning other people. And this is why the platforms like Twitter, I don't know if Elon's going to be able to save Twitter. Facebook, it's a dying platform. YouTube is a dying platform. These big tech, when they crash, then the California market is really screwed.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned all this, Bolson, because my biggest gripe, and we've talked about this with liberals, and is you cannot have a difference of opinion. What Poston is saying is, say for example, and I'm gonna put a football analogy on this. Say for example, we all get together and we do our picks for who we think is going to be in the Super Bowl. You know, I might say, I don't know, the Bills versus Cowboys. Poston might say the Bills versus, I don't know, the Eagles or something like that, just in that category. And then, you know, we all have difference of opinion when it comes to wrestling. Me and Poston, me and Apocalypse Hill, we hate AEW. I think it's I think it's trash. But some people don't like that. Some people are like, well, you can't say that. You can't say that. Yes, I can. And we all used to have difference of opinion back then, and it was okay to have a difference of opinion. The problem is now in this world is if you have a difference of opinion with them, they go, you can't say that. I'm going to fight you. I looked it up on CNN. CNN is right. You're wrong. I'm like, well, people don't realize that the opinion is neither right or wrong. And I feel like if people went back to that kind of mentality, we wouldn't be half in the shit that we're in right now as far as the world is concerned.
Yeah, it's all virtue signaling. That's the only thing that you're allowed to have opinions on. And it's all petty drama. Like, you take a look, okay, from a political standpoint, I can sit there and say, I don't believe in climate change. And the reason why I don't believe in climate change is because it used to be the second ice age.
Yeah.
That was whenever I was really young, in diapers still. And then that became the greenhouse effect. And then the greenhouse effect became the ozone layer. And then the ozone layer became global warming. And then that became climate change. But it was all the same science based on that shit. So it's, it's a scam. And I totally can go ahead and say, hey, after about 5 times, I'm, very skeptical of your science that you talk about so much. So, that is what it is. And we used to be able to do that more freely here on YouTube. But now since YouTube has kind of like moved those goalposts, because guess what? The socialist and the communist up there in California, and mind you that the reason why your cable channels and your big entertainment platforms and your CNNs and all these people are losing, so much interest is because the same reason why YouTube went ahead and adopted that formula and accumulated it here on the internet is because they were all saying the same stuff, and it was all very, very vanilla, particularly after Donald Trump got in office. You had Jimmy Kimmel out there crying, and then you had freaking Chelsea Handler out there crying, and they were all crying all over there and saying how bad everything is and terrible and freaking Handmaid's Tale and all this other bullshit that they were putting out. And this is one thing that I had mentioned to you back then whenever I was doing my YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And this is the issue that I had with like your DC universe. This was the thing I had with Zack Snyder's DC universe, was that everything was doom and gloom, and the market was so saturated, people wanted to go see something that would lift them up, that would inspire them. And, with the direction that, WWE has kind of professional wrestling has gotten to the point to where they've, it's kind of insulting anymore, because now they just say, hey, you know what? This is all fake, and our fans like fake shit, so we could put anything out there. They kind of got lazy with their writing. And, the market's so saturated, there's not a lot of effort being put into anything. And it's all drama. And this is, some of the people that are out there right now still doing with the drama. The market is too saturated with that. People want to see other stuff. And, they want to be entertained in other ways just besides being, petty or miserable or, anxious or something.
Actually, what happened was that Mel had an incident a couple weeks ago at her work. She had an incident where a liberal co-worker was talking, and they were bringing up the whole gun control and stuff. And you would think this guy, being former military, he would be more about the gun thing. Well, he was talking about that if anyone owns a gun, that they're a killer. And it's like you can't talk to them about that. They want to ban automatic weapons, but you and I both know that an assault rifle like that is actually a semi-automatic.
Yes, yeah, and it's a semi-automatic. And here's the deal, right? What's your little, what they call it, common sense gun reform or whatever it is? What's that going to solve? What's it going to solve? I keep hearing you leftists talk about how, we're going to go after the manufacturers. Okay, so you have no more people manufacturing. Does that mean that that the guns are gonna stop being manufactured? Absolutely not. They'll just be sold on the black market. And as soon as you can stop the government from sending these weapons of war that you like to sit there and talk so much, to criminals, which we can probably gather that more criminals, the guns are putting in the hands of more criminals by the government than they are by the everyday citizen who is held liable. We're held liable. That means that if there's, if I am responsible for arming a criminal, then I'm held liable. The government's not held liable. So your argument makes no sense. It's not going to stop any crime because guess what? Criminals don't obey laws. It doesn't matter how many fucking gun laws that you want to create. It doesn't matter. You're not solving anything. And you can go ahead and have generic story after generic story, like here in Texas. Whenever I see AR in a news story anymore, I'm not even following it anymore. I'm not even entertaining the conversation. We're not having it.
Right.
Because, just because, like, okay, I'll take in consideration, right? And I'll go ahead and let you know this. This is one of the things that the Republicans run on, and it's total and utter bullcrap. They run on the border, right? Illegals coming over here. The illegals are not the problem. And I've already told you what the problem is. It's all the people coming from blue states into red states.
Yep.
That's the issue. Mm-hmm. And so, this is, so the media needs us to sit there and contribute in their little media campaigns. So here in Texas, there's a place called Cleveland, Texas, where supposedly the neighbor had an AR. He was out there shooting his AR in the middle of the road. The neighbors asked him to stop, and he went over there and shot them all, and then he was on the run, and of course nobody's paying any attention to it. It's because we're numb. You've hit the dummy button on your little psychological operations too much. So it was getting no traffic, but it was an immigrant of some sort. So the following week, since that wasn't getting any play, it wasn't getting any love, the guy was they wanted to make it like the DC sniper, basically. He was on the loose, he had this weapon of war, and he was driving all over Texas. Well, the response that they got from all the people in Texas says, you ain't got to worry about me bringing him in alive. If I see him, I'm just going to shoot him and then, bring him in dead. That's the reactions that they were getting from the news story. Right. So they went ahead, got him locked up, and if you watch the videos on it, them going on trial, it's absolutely insane why people still believe this stuff. But the very next day, they even doubled up on their insanity. That's whenever you had the Allen shooting, and this was a guy, guess what? Because they got to get the people on the right to go ahead and invest into it. So this guy is a guy from Mexico who is a white supremacist somehow, and an Aryan Nation type guy. You see how insane that the media has gotten, how desperate they have gotten?
Yep. And it's also this too, is that what some of you people who want to ban guns don't understand is most murders in the United States alone is by regular handguns, not by a military semi-automatic weapon. And here's the problem too, and some people are irresponsible gun owners, and I'm talking about the ones, when you leave your shit in the car, which is happening here in Tennessee, when you leave your stuff in the car and some young thug decides to break in your car and steal that gun, that's on you for not being a responsible gun owner. Because you're leaving your car, you're leaving it right there for someone to take it and use it on someone else. And I always say this word, guns don't transform. This is not Transformers. I mean, like, as much as the 80s when Megatron turned into a gun and used it, and someone Starscream would use it and shoot someone. No. Guns are not the ones that kill people. It's the people that hold that gun.
Well, I'll tell you this, man. I'll tell you this. Is that it doesn't take a rocket scientist. Where is your most crime at? Where is the most crime at? It's in blue districts.
Chicago.
And,
yep.
All of these people that are having all these and doing all these marches, they're doing them in blue districts. They're not doing them in red districts. Red districts, we get up, we go to work, we put in an honest day's work, we earn our checks, and we go back home. And, you look at stuff, and this is one of the things where I say, and this is, I think that you're kind of with me on this one. This is why I kind of went away from the MAGA thing with Donald Trump. And it's because Donald Trump is a three-ring circus. And, ultimately, I'm not the biggest DeSantis guy, but I respect what DeSantis has done in Florida. I don't know how he'll do as president, but, he's done a pretty decent job in Florida. And, ultimately there's still other guys I would rather have on the ticket, but right now I have to throw my hat in the ring for DeSantis, not Trump. Trump is the media guy. He's the same one that all these MAGA people sit there and resent, all these media conglomerate, egotistical people, and ultimately Donald Trump falls right in line with that. And, I voted for Trump. I voted for Trump twice. Not gonna lie.
I did too.
He was, he was definitely the lesser of two evils between Hillary, and we could see that Biden is incapacitated. But if it comes down between Trump and Biden, I'm probably gonna vote for Biden, to be honest with you. And that's because, you could probably, if you voted for your Republican candidate, right, in office, your congressman and your senator, we already have a conservative Supreme Court, and Biden would just be nothing but a rubber stamp for getting conservative stuff passed. So, I mean, what are you going to get if Trump wins? You're just going to get more Russian collusion stuff. You're going to get more, this ridiculous stuff that they have on these networks. And then you're going to get a more cathartic reaction from all the leftists out there. Where...
Oh, there's a new one now. As a matter of fact, before I came on here, they were talking about it on CNN last night, that apparently one of Trump's workers in Mar-a-Lago was cleaning out the swimming pool, and then it flooded into where he had all the files and computer stuff at, and now they're trying to say, was that a mistake or was that a coincidence?
And see, the Democrats will make fun of QAnon. And then they come up with Russian Pissgate stories. You know what I'm saying?
And what's cool about that Russian story is that it did come out to be a fucking hoax. And you got guys like Hunter Biden, you got guys like Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, or Hillary Clinton, as I like to call her, and you got like guys like Adam Schiff who are not being held responsible for doing stuff. Now, for a fact, Poston, this is true here. If me and you got caught with government files like that, we would have been in federal prison already. This would have been no discussion.
Oh, yeah. And, that's why I'm actually more in support of tribunals for 2024. If it'd be up to me, and I had my choice, and it was on the ballot, I'm voting on replacing the whole damn government. Because, it's too many concessions. Right now, people are swinging radically right, like right of me, and people will claim that I'm a alt-right person anyways, but I'm more of a centrist. Technically I hold probably more traditional liberal views than what society considers liberal today. I hold more of the traditional liberal views. With that being said, though, I'm more of an anti-federalist. I don't believe in centralizing government power. And right now, with the mainstream media, and the mainstream media put themselves in this corner, but with the mainstream media alienating everybody, then society is actually swinging dramatically right of me, right to the right, like so radically we're right that I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't head into a theocracy. And I've said this,
Mm-hmm.
I haven't said it on a video. I might have mentioned it in a video. I think that's, I've said it on Young Turks. Y'all keep on doing what you're doing, because you're just driving society
right
to that radical religious fundamental right. And, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian.
Yep.
And I don't back away from that. I don't deny that. But you're not going to get Christians like me in positions of power. You never do. You get your Kenneth Copelands and your Joel Osteens and your Alex Jones and those guys that you've been shitting on for, most of their existence, and you've targeted for all this stuff. Those are the people that will be put in charge.
So King Twister said, "What's up, guys? Yet again, no surprise. There's a shooting today at the College of Virginia during a graduation ceremony just now."
And see, it's gotten to be so mundane with these psychological, and it's always these institutions, it's always left-leaning centers, and I guarantee you that I was listening to Dan Bongino, and I like listening to Dan Bongino because he was in the Secret Service, and there's a little organization that these places are usually connected to. I forgot what they call it, but it's like a federal agency or some sort. And, I forgot what he said. I had to go back and listen to it. But, and I believe what he's saying. And I think that's exactly what they are. These supposed, so much so, and I guarantee you it's probably an AR-15. It might be an AK, because I think that the somebody somewhere up the chain over there in North Carolina or over there in California, whoever is running the psychological operation department of the military, I think that they finally got it in their head after telling them 500 different fucking times that you can't run with the same story. Okay, first off, hypothetically, right? If you were going to do a mass shooting and you were going to be in close quarters, you're going to be on the inside, you're not on the outside. It would be far more effective to get a pistol with a silencer. Yep. You could just go around, shooting, you could probably shoot half of the people there before they even knew it. It would be easier. It's a little bit harder to bring in a rifle into one of these places without, having immediate freaking resistance to you.
Let me ask you, Bolson. Me and Mel were talking about this, and I know that a lot of people. I believe that movies get ideas from the real world. I honestly think that sometimes these mass shootings, I wonder if they all fall with someone having some mental problem. But I'm always wondering if whether or not the government kidnaps these people and brainwashes them to do this shit, so they can fit the narrative of the gun control.
Well, here's the deal, and it takes so long for the media to do any real investigation on anything. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. For any real truth or facts about any kind of incident to come out. Whenever these shootings happen, it's instantaneously. They know the name of the shooter, they know all this stuff, and they're all working together and whatnot, But if it's anything where there has to be an investigation or if something's going on, well, they don't get that information out that quickly. And sometimes they don't ever get the information right. There's no telling how many retractions that the media should post that they never do, just because the stories died off so long ago that it's irrelevant at this point. So, the sheer fact is that, they'll know the name of the shooter, they'll know the high school he went to, they'll know what he ate for breakfast that morning, they'll know it, and then he'll have a manifesto. This is a script. You understand? And so, it's become so tediously bland, and so they've used it so much that I think that, like I said, even now the public is starting to, understand that, this is, there's some discrepancies in these stories, and they're starting to look at it, and they're being more cynical about it, and large, and a majority of the population.
Yeah, what's interesting too is, you voted for Trump twice, I voted for Trump twice, and people automatically think because you voted for Trump that you are a Republican. And Poston will agree with this. I'm neither a Democrat or a Republican. I'm like Poston. I voted for Trump because they were lesser of two evils. And I look at a guy like Joe Biden, and it's showing itself The man's been in politics for 47 years, and he hasn't done shit. And he's not doing shit now.
Yeah, except for steal your money, pretty much, with the Burisma shit. And, you know, but like I said, you got Republicans that do the same shit with fucking Dan Crenshaw.
Yep.
I ain't got much use for that dude neither.
Nope.
But the deal is that if you disagree with them, then you're automatically a Republican. You're just labeled and branded with them, because they can't, like the left. And this is the thing about the left, is they don't understand that there's more than just one position out there. They don't understand that there's more than one opinion. And it's easier for them. They have this, you know, this the Hegelian dialect. They can only think in like two dimensions. You're either right or you're left, and that's it. So that's why the left cannot, this is why they struggle. And this is, like I said, with the Young Turks, it doesn't matter. With your Sam Cedars, with all these channels, this is why they can't accumulate any real following, because they just can't relate to anybody that's not in their echo chamber. And they don't understand that there's more than just one position, and their position is reliant on government control. And whenever society is reluctant to trust the government, well, then your position is going to become unpopular.
I honestly believe, and I don't know if you believe this too, Polson, but I have a problem where some liberals got to understand one thing. The only thing that we've always been trying to say is, if you're going to punish us, you need to punish yourselves. Like, let's throw an example. Like when Roseanne made that comment, they kicked her off the show and then they changed it to the Connors. Well, then you have Joy Behar on The View that said that if you are a black conservative, that you're not black. But yet, she's not fired for making a comment like that. You have like, and we all know that there's a narrative thing with that. Like, you know, the Black Lives Matter group and, you know, the Antifa, they bombed everything, burning buildings during the whole 2020. But no one got held accountable. If you did get arrested, you didn't get thrown in prison or anything like that. But the people that did the January 6th thing are now in prison for a couple years.
Yeah, and that's how much reality is in that, because I don't believe any of that stuff is true neither. But with that being said, it's the left trying to sit there and paint themselves as some sort of aristocracy. And, you know, it never works out too well for the last aristocracy that ended up getting taken out. And, you know, the original French Revolution with King Louis and Marie Antoinette.
Yep.
You seen what happened to them. And so, dude, okay, here's the deal, right? I'm more likely to vote for Biden than I am Trump if that who ends up winning. I'm more likely to vote for Biden, believe it or not. Biden's gotten more conservative stuff, and we're still going. But he's gotten a lot of conservative stuff passed. So why would I vote against Joe Biden if he's getting more of my position passed? You know what I'm saying? Look at the gun laws in New York that were overturned. It wasn't overturned under Biden. It wasn't overturned under Trump. It was overturned under Biden. Now, I'll give Trump total props on exposing the mainstream media. He did do the tax cuts that he did. They were favorable to me. You know, I'll give Trump props where Trump deserves props. You know, there is some good stuff that Trump has done. But ultimately, is it going to be worth me voting for Donald Trump in 2024 whenever I know that the media is going to be nothing but Russian collusion? Because to be honest with you, Trump should have repealed all the little propaganda bills. Then your mass shootings would have went down dramatically to like almost zero as compared to ever since they passed the Smith Modernization Act. And you would have, if he would have repealed the H.R. 5181, the Counter Propaganda Act, the internet wouldn't be censored as much. This is stuff that Donald Trump and the Republicans should have did whenever they were they had control. However, with that being said, the reason that they couldn't is because they were too busy fighting off some Russian conspiracy that the left has made off. One thing that I am totally sure of is that the Democrats will lie, and more times than not, they'll lie before they tell you the truth. And this is one of the reasons why I, don't support Democrats at all. I mean, I like Tulsi Gabbard, I like RFK Jr. Don't get me wrong. I like those two guys, but the reason why I can't support the Democrats is because the Democrats believe that we're as dumb as Democrat voters are. And not everybody is that stupid. So, that's an issue. And like I said, more than likely I'll vote for Donald Trump. Vote for Joe Biden in this election if it comes down between him and Donald Trump. I can get more stuff done by electing my a conservative congressman and a conservative senator, and then voting for Joe Biden will get more accomplished than we would if we had Donald Trump in office, because it's just going to be another circus until the Democrats can find a way to rig another election.
One thing I took in high school was I took a journalism class, and I can honestly tell anybody that doesn't think that the media can controls things and fits things to their narrative. Well, it's going on right now. Like, they're barely talking bad about Trump right now, but their main focus now is attacking Desantis. And the reason why they're doing that is because they know that they can do whatever the hell they want with Trump, and Trump will react the way he does. DeSantis is a different cat. He's playing it cool. He's, look what he's done for the state of Florida. I mean, like, I know people that have lived in Florida that are saying, like, look, man, this guy is great. He's, and some people, and then you got Trump going over there, who's saying that that Cuomo from New York did better than he did during the whole COVID thing. And I'm like, and it's dirty politics. People don't think that Trump's a politics, but some of the things that Trump's saying is really hurting himself. And the fact that he went out there and he attacked his press secretary, Kelly McAvety, and called her a Pop-Tart or whatever the hell no, milk tart.
Yeah, milk toast.
Milk toast.
Milk toast. It's milk toast there, guy. Oh, yeah.
I'm sitting there thinking, and that woman right there saved your ass so many times as the press secretary. Why would you go in that whole attack mode like that? And I feel like that the media really wants Trump to win as the Republican nominee over DeSantis because they know Trump's more of a story to them. And I feel like that's what they're doing right now. They're trying to fit that narrative. And I'll be honest with you, I like RK Jr. myself. And I really wish that they would let Biden debate against Robert Kennedy Jr. And they're not going to because they know Robert Kennedy Jr. would wipe the floor with him.
Oh, it'd be a calamity. It'd be utter freaking, yeah. But like I said there, yet again, Joe Biden really, we know that he struggles. And it's one of these things to where, like I said, we have people out there probably that are better fit to run this country that are working in retail probably. I'll just be honest with you. And, nobody's held to any kind of real standards in D.C., and this ends up being the issue. This is why I believe that we need to have tribunals. We need to replace the government. I think it needs to go back to being like a public service. And okay, take this debt ceiling. This is a perfect example.
Right.
And this is scary, and it should scare the hell out of everybody. I know that nobody's going to care. Everybody's going to go, say, whatever it is. But the deal is that whenever the government takes on liability, if they take on, Medicare, Medicaid, whatever it is, they have to hire government workers to work for that, for whatever it is, like the 87,000 IRS agents. With those government jobs comes government benefits. So, like I said, let's say that, you're starting off making $20,000 a year. Of course, you'll make it more than that. I'm just being conservative. but we'll go ahead and say for shits and grins it's $20,000 a year. Okay, so you work there for 20 years, you retire from the government. You're probably not going to want to work any more than you have to. So let's say you work for 20 years, and then you get 3/4 of your paycheck, and then you work your way up to $60,000 a year. You know, that's pretty reasonable. That's a very conservative estimate. So that means that your pension is going to be $40,000 a year. That $20,000 a year job is now a $60,000 a year job because of your pension. But they still have to hire somebody for that $20,000 a year job. And then they work for the same amount, do the same thing. So they're getting $40,000. You're still getting your $40,000 because you're just fixing to hit 80 right now. So you're still kicking. And then they're hitting their $40,000. So now you got to get another $20,000 a year. Now that job's become $100,000. And in some cases, a spouse or somebody gets that money even if you pass away. And then we could sit there and see how this the deficit ends up growing. And it keeps on growing. So the government has to print out more money. They have to take on more liability just to go ahead and meet its obligations. And so this is why government spending gets so out of control. And, you know, this is one of the things, one of the issues that I have with Trump, is Trump will sit there and point at that. He'll sit there and say, yeah, we're going to go default. We're going to default either now or we're going to default later. We might as well handle it now. And he's right. However, with that being said, in the same freaking sentence, he'll sit there and talk about how the Republicans want to go ahead and cut Social Security. You know, if, like I told you, and I did the math for you, if, you know, if they would have went ahead and put that 5% of Social Security into the private market, first off, if 5% of the Social Security out there goes into the private market, I would be willing to go ahead and let them mess with my 5% of my Social Security because it goes in the private market. They invest in Google. That just yielded you over $1 million from 2004 until now. You know? So.
And you also made a good point too when you said that we had Trump and we had a Republican Senate and Congress at one point. They could not get rid of Obamacare because they couldn't agree on anything, and I feel like that's the reason why Democrats, I feel like, are beating Republicans in certain areas, because as much as some Democrats have difference of opinion, they always come together. Republicans seem to have you have the old guard Republicans like Mitch McConnell, you know, kind of the rhinos. You have the different kind of Republicans like kind of like Rand Paul and Jim Jordan and a few of those guys. And then you have Donald Trump, who's not really a Republican.
Yeah, and he's a rhino itself.
Yeah, so it's kind of like I feel like that's the reason why Democrats kind of get away with stuff and win more things, is because even though they may not agree with certain things, like a lot of them didn't agree that Biden made a deal with Mike McCarthy on that whole debt ceiling. But at the same time, though, they will come together to scheme and to plot and to find their way.
And I'll tell you, a part of the problem is that the Republicans still think that the media controls, you know, the popular consensus of the masses, and it doesn't anymore. Not like it used to. You know, a lot of people, because I think that I was doing the math, I think it was actually TYT, which I watch a lot of TYT, in case you're wondering why I keep mentioning TYT, is I watch Hard Bastard for the most part, and I'll watch Soft Gentleman, which is Hard Bastard's alter ego, but it's the same guy pretty much, and he covers a lot of the stuff that they're saying on TYT. That's about as close.
And you gotta watch your future, and you gotta watch your future wife on her. You know?
Yeah, my future baby's mama. And the bad thing is now I work with somebody who was friends, whose family was friends with Cenk Uger's family, and he swears that me and fucking Anna are destined. So now I've just been trolling with it altogether. But you know, so I mean, I've just been trolling the fuck out of him. But yeah, he's like, oh yeah, you know, you and Anna are probably soulmates. But, because, you know, I said I would just eat them all into the sun. And That's what Hard Bastard says. So I just doubled that from Hard Bastard. But no, absolutely 110% is that, you know, the thing is that they still think that these media companies carry clout and that they have influence. But yet, even by their own polls, and I think it was the Washington Post or was it the New York Times? One of them did, huh?
I think it was New York Times.
Okay, so the New York Times did a poll, and only 23% of the country, according to New York Times, trust the mainstream media. But the New York Times is missing something. There's missing context, as your fucking Google, Wikipedia people would sit there and point out. There's missing context. Is that poll isn't of the United States population of 331 million. That poll is based on the 6% of the population, which is roughly about 20 million people, that still watch the news. Because if I'm not looking at the New York Times, then I'm not, you know, interested in the poll that they're doing. So that 23% is actually only like 4 million people in the United States that still has confidence in media narratives. And, you know, I could see it in real time because I work in a place that's probably got about like maybe 2,000 or 3,000 people now, maybe a little bit less, but it was up to 4,000 people. And I think that only like maybe 5 or 6 people that I know would talk about anything on the media. Everybody else is talking about stuff that they're going to do or, you know, stuff that they're into, whether it's doing TikTok themselves or whatever it is, watching their own stuff, you know, doing their own product. Nobody's talking about this stuff anywhere. You know, they're talking about their own stuff. And so the media doesn't carry, so I mean, you know, ultimately they don't influence the population like the Republicans, and this is the deal. This is why your Glenn Becks and your people from Fox are having a hard time. This is why they're trying to go left. It's because they think that if they change their position, that it'll get them more opportunities to accumulate. And it's not. You know, right now, you could tell. I think that the media came out and they exposed themselves. This is where I get the number from. Is that the media exposed themselves whenever they were doing their January 6th trial. That was the biggest media event for them, something that they were contributing to, probably since, I'd say since 9/11, really. That was their 9/11. And when they dropped into it was on 12 networks, mind you. So it means that 12 networks was covering the January 6th stuff.
Yep.
When they dropped that 20 million people had tuned in for the January 6th trial, well, that's only 6% of the population. That's 6%. And so, you know, if you take a majority of the people now, because this is a New York Times poll that said that only 23% of that many people have confidence in the media. You take, then the majority of those people were YouTubers covering it for their channel to go out there and put out a different perspective or, you know, whatever reason that they were covering it. But they don't have any more confidence in the mainstream media as anybody else. So you're talking about a very limited amount of population that really puts any real confidence in the mainstream media anymore.
You know, because you know, I know you're going to post this on your other channels, and I'm probably going to post this on Twitter, and I know this is probably going to cause some ruckus, is what I'm about to say. The 2020 election, when you go back to it, the reason why we're saying that the numbers don't match, because let me just say this much: Biden picked one of the worst vice presidents to have because people didn't like her to begin with. And there's no way that neither one of those presidents both got 70 or 80 million votes. Now they used that. I still feel like they used the pandemic as a way to do those those paper ballots. And the 2024 election, the only thing I can honestly say is if Biden is going to be reelected, Do you believe he needs to get rid of Kamala Harris as vice president? He needs to get someone else in that's stronger.
You know, I wouldn't mind him getting someone in that is probably about the same kind of capacity as he is. You know, somebody that's not going to say anything. You know, it's going to be, you know, as milquetoast and vanilla as you can get a vice president, that's what you need to do. That's what Donald Trump calls them. Yeah, somebody who's going to be like that. Because, to be honest with you, like I said, me personally, I think that we need to replace the whole government, myself. And that's just because there's too many liabilities going on. We're about to head into another freaking war. They're trying to get us into another war, you know, with China and Russia. And they tried the Russian route. I'm pretty sure that the China route will be more effective for them. They're going to keep on trying to push this. And the reason why they, you know, is because ultimately what's fixing to come down the pipeline? You have all this inflation right now. You're fixing to get rid of those tax cuts, those Bush tax cuts, which is going to get rid of all them jobs. You know, whenever the Bush tax cuts, the economy starts feeling the effect of getting rid of those cuts, then they're going to start cutting a lot of jobs. Once they start cutting a lot of the jobs, the big manufacturers, you know what I'm saying? And then you introduce this Inflation Reduction Act to go ahead and target private ownership. Well, there's going to be a lot of jobs that are lost. Has nothing to do with AI, has nothing to do with any of that stuff. But they're going to start to lose a lot of jobs. And so the best way to keep people is to start another war and to gather as many resources as you can. So they're trying to make it go live. And this is the same thing that I was just telling you in the Hangout, is that, you know, the military right now, I don't think is capable of sustaining any kind of war with Russia and China, so they would have to institute a draft. And by all means, all these people that are on Twitter right now saying, I stand with Ukraine, with their little Ukraine avatars and stuff, all these people in the media right now that have been you know, trying to sit there and start a war with Russia for years now, your freaking Rachel Maddow's and these freaking Congress people that have been war hawks right now, like your Dan Crenshaw's. He was fire service. He was special forces. All these security numbers need to come up if you start a draft. You know, stop, you know, wasting all our good people to send overseas because of a war that these people, you know, because they're the ones that are incapable of governing. You know, they're incapable of it. So, yeah, you know, and this is one of the things that, because, you know, they've tried several routes. They tried to get the Civil War, and my supervisor, my direct supervisor, and myself were talking about this. And, you know, because you have, like, the guy that Melanie works with, this big leftist Yahoo that watches CNN. Now, he wasn't prior military or anything. He wouldn't know first thing about doing anything in the military. He's a big-time leftist. And every time the State Department comes out and says Trump is going to jail and beware, the MAGA voters may end up, you know, if it ever went live, you wouldn't know. It's not going to be on CNN. And more than likely, if it went live, you know, if you're that much of a leftist, if you're that, then you'd probably be a liability. You'd probably be taken out first. I'm just being honest with you. You wouldn't know. It's not going to be on your CNN or MSNBC or your Twitters or anything like that. If it ever went live, there would be no way that, you know, it's going to be broadcasted to you. And I can tell you that right now, as, you know, even if, you know, say I wasn't, you know, engaged in any way, those guys would be on it. You know, because they've already been preparing for years now. And so me, myself, you know, I look at maneuvers and stuff that, you know, they do, the military routes and how they transport. And, you know, I watch this stuff. I observe it. You know, I see it. And it's just like, oh, okay. You know, I'm going to keep that in my mind. Because I already know where the routes are. I know where they would be going. I know the routes that they would use. I would, you know their lingo. I would know where the most capable spots are. And if I know that, as a logistical person, I guarantee you the special forces people out there that are vets would know that. So no, if there was a if the MAGA voters, we'll just call them MAGA voters, but if there was a insurrection like you claim there was, you would stand very little of a chance. 10% of Trump's base. 10%, because I'll go ahead and give him 70 million. And this is just me being conservative again. I'll go ahead and give him 70 million. If 10% would be 7 million, I'll go ahead and take 10% of that. And it would be hard for the United States to even deal with that, with a standing military, a total standing military of 2.1 million. And these people can destroy, steal, or incapacitate anything that you have, because they are the ones that worked on, your current procedures and whatnot. They train these troops. So, like I said, it would be over before it started.
See, I have a friend who's I've known for like 30 plus years, and he's a staff sergeant in the military. And he told me when he first became a staff sergeant, you can do what you did, like when you see Full Metal Jacket and things like that. Yeah, you can be that way towards your new cadets. Now they are very sensitive to things. Now you can't go and yell at them. You can't go and make them do like 20 or 30 push-ups like they would with you and me. And it's become a very vanilla military. So yeah, if a World War III happened, I don't think this group of military can handle it. And
well, see, whenever it pops off live, first off, you don't have time to think. You only have time to react. That's it. Like I said, whenever 9/11 happened, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. All I knew is I had to get to my duty station. That's all I knew. And, get up, get dressed. If I was lucky, I could get some chow, get to the duty station. That's it. It's all hands on deck. You're out there, you're humping, you're doing all this other stuff. You're trying to get, to where you need to be in position, because if there was any more planes in the air that was going to come down, well, you had to be at your station. You know what I'm saying? To go ahead and address the threat. And we were ready in about 2 hours. We were already underway. So, that's pretty impressive to get a ship of that size out to sea that quick. And we were already doing air defense for the state of Hawaii at the point in time. But they can't even take a tweet. They can't even take a difference of opinion. It's okay. It's a perfect example, right? We'll take the Bud Light thing. Do I think the Bud Light boycott is absolutely stupid? Absolutely, because it's not going to hurt the freaking horse-faced CEO that went ahead and said we're going to make Dylan Mulvaney the freaking spokesperson of Bud Light. It's not hurting her, or him, or they, or whatever the fuck they call themselves. It's not hurting it. Whatever the fuck. It's hurting the people that work at Bud Light and the ones that depend on it for manufacturing, for trucking, for, warehousing, the keep the Bud that sell it, the distributors, the people who do the merchandising and all that. That's who you're hurting. You're not hurting I forget what the little freaking VP's name was, but you're not hurting them, I should say. However, the one thing that I do take issue with is ultimately, first off, I don't agree with Dylan Mulvaney making videos for the kids that he's making videos for in the first place. About the transitioning, there's a lot wrong with that. And you could say what you want to, but I think it should, Dylan Mulvaney's content in and of itself needs to be targeted to more mature audiences. With that being said, at the same time, his audience is young, like minors. So why is Bud Light trying to advertise to minors that are too young to drink anyways? That's my whole thing about it.
I think when they brought in that new woman to be the VP of Bud Light, her idea was that she wanted younger people to want to drink Bud Light, but it's kind of bad, like you said, because these younger people are not 21, so they can't really drink at that's the drinking age. So I'm sitting there thinking, like, are you trying to get people to get drunk at an early age? Are you trying to get people with alcohol issues already? Because that's what it seems like. And you're right. This whole Bud Light thing is not hurting her, because Bud Light can't fire her, because if they fire her, she can file discrimination because she's a woman, and that would go into a whole other can of worms. So right now, Bud Light's losing billions of dollars, but you're right, they're losing it more in distribution and more in manufacturing.
And see, here's the deal, right? You're let's say hypothetically, which I don't believe, but hypothetically, let's say that you were trying to market to homosexuals, right?
Right.
You're trying to market to the LGBTQ. For the most part, those people don't drink beer. Now, some of the lesbians might. A lesbian might go. Me and a lesbian can go out and have a Bud Light together. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, a lot of the homosexual guys and transgenders and stuff, they're not beer drinkers. You know what I'm saying? So, if I'm somebody who's trying to market to an LGBTQ audience, why wouldn't Bud Light go ahead and say, hey, we're going to go ahead and make a wine cooler? Because that's what they drink. They drink margaritas, stuff like that, because that's what they drink.
Yeah, wine spritzers and all that kind of fruity stuff. Yeah, that's what they drink.
Right, and that's just knowing the market that you're trying to go ahead and advertise to. You're trying to use Dylan Mulvaney as a face to go ahead and get people. You could have made Bud Light, margarita spritzers, or whatever the hell, and then made him the face of that. Instead, you go ahead and put him on a Bud Light, which, to be honest with you, if I go out and drink, I'm probably going to drink a Bud Light. That's what I drink. That's my preferred beer whenever I go out. I take a Bud Light. It's just the easiest thing. I won't even think about it. It's just not even going to cross my head. I don't like Coors. I usually drink Bud Light, because it's more. I can drink Bud Light longer than I can, hard liquor. With that being said, you're not marketing to the LGBTQ, and with the Dylan Mulvaney thing, it's almost like you're marketing to kids, and that's not right. If we were to do something like that, if it would have been you and I, and we put the Ninja Turtles on there or something. You know what I'm saying? Something that kids watch. I don't know why kids watch that. Yu-Gi-Oh! Whatever the hell they watch. And you put it on a Bud Light, people would be like, oh yeah, you need to be held accountable. What are you trying to advertise to kids for? Now my kid wants a Bud Light because it's got Pikachu on it or whatever the hell. And, that's totally reasonable. We would get in trouble. But they don't hold. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this: we're talking about the Bud Light thing. I know recently Target lost $1 billion because they have their own LBGT thing. And Al Stein, I don't know if a lot of people follow him or not, but he decided to go and try on that tuck bikini, which I thought was kind of hilarious because he got kicked out afterwards. But my issue with this whole transgender thing is not the fact that if you're an adult, like if you're mine and Paulson's age, and you feel like you want to be a woman, then by all means, that's your prerogative. But when you do it to the kids and you force it down kids' throats, that's when I have an issue with it.
And I think that a lot, and I know some transgenders, I know some homosexuals, and I'm almost certain that none of the ones that I know are for this. And this is the problem that we get with the whole LGBTQ. And like I said, this is where the left is just basically trying to package and sell their own shit to themselves. Because you're certainly not selling it to us. Is, okay, you want to be transgender? Knock yourself out. I don't care. As long as you're of the age, more power to you if that's what you want to do. I wouldn't say I necessarily advocate for that. I'm not going to be a defender of you or anything. There are certain, stuff that comes along with that. I'm not going to sit there and say, oh yeah, you should totally do it, but I'm not going to stop you from doing it or, put up any kind of real resistance for it because it's your choice. You know what I'm saying? It's your choice. I could tell you the, issues with it, whether you want to go ahead and consider them issues or not, that's it. That's all I can do. With that being said, is that, ultimately you can, say what you want to. The issue is, right, and this is where the left is kind of like dying. It's dead pretty much. Is that, they don't even sit there. Okay, so this all started with the libs of TikTok for the most part. And they did, I'll go ahead and take my hat off to them. They exposed a lot of stuff. However, if that would have been me, I would have probably did some follow-up research, confirmed the story. And if I'm a leftist, regardless, I would probably sit there and say, no, that's not acceptable. We shouldn't be doing this. And there's a lot of leftists that absolutely have done this. Not a lot of, not the ones in corporate, they're held to, have to go along with it regardless. But there are the leftists who have came out and said, hey, you know what? Yeah, please don't make this, don't make the leftists a party of pedophilia. And that's absolutely what they're kind of doing at this point in time. So this drives people. You're drawing a line in the sand, and what you're saying is this has to be tolerated, which is ultimately, to a degree, the sexualization, the grooming of children, or you're with everybody else. Well, once everybody else gets to that other side, then they're going to be the ones making the decisions, not you. You wanted democracy. You're about to see what democracy looks like. You keep pushing everybody to the right, and then you're going to get a drastic response. And like I said, it's coming. I see it. And like I said, you're going to push everybody into a theocracy at some point in time because of people like Alex Jones, the people like Kenneth Copeland, all these people that are sitting there saying how evil and wicked, and, they're not necessarily wrong. These people got a reprobate mind where it's just complete degenerate, It's just, something that you don't want to, because it's not going to produce anything of any kind of real quality.
Hey,
but,
what my issue with it is I've been battling mental health issues since I was a kid, and I'm a big advocate for it. And what really bothers me, man, was that the mental health world, like the psychology world, looks at transgender thing as not a mental health issue, and I look at it as a mental health issue.
It's it's a chemical imbalance. It's a deficiency in the serotonins is what it is. Yeah. And that's absolutely 110% fact. Now, the left can go ahead and cling on to some geriatric study and poll results and all this other stuff, but we know that the left are, they reject real science. They claim that they're the party of science, but we know that's not the truth. And basically, it's just something that they exploit. And, the way that they see it is that, they can make money off of it, and that's just what the left does. So, they can say what they want to say, but it absolutely is 110% it's a chemical imbalance. And, and that's one of the things that I left on Andre's video that he put up, is that it's funny how, if it's gender reassignment surgery, the left says, oh, we should, fund gender reassignment surgery, and we need to go ahead and make it available. But if there is some sort of conversion therapy out there, like with any other kind of, if there's a cure, well, that can't be considered. Why? Because they make money off of it. They make money off of these LGBTQs and these BLMs and stuff like that. They have to keep them being victims and whatnot, and keep them in that situation. And
I was going to ask you this, Paulson. This is actually this was a good one I was talking about with somebody that I work with, because they are actually gay, and they don't believe in this whole transgender thing either. But we were discussing this, and they believe that if, like, say for example, that the whole woke community is after Chris Pratt because he's a Christian and because he said something, and they're all wanting him banned and gone and everything like that. Do you believe that, like, certain actresses and actors and certain, like, television channels or apps like Netflix and Hulu and all them, do you think that they're damn if they do, damn if they don't? Like, if they go against this narrative of woke, they'll be canceled, and if they go with it, they think they'll make more money by going with it.
You know, I don't know. The only thing I can sit there and say is, have a little bit of decorum. And Chris Pratt has great decorum. He's doing well for himself. People like Chris Pratt. People are going to go watch Chris Pratt movies. Most of the people that are criticizing Chris Pratt, most of these people, nobody's watching them. Nobody cares what they say. And especially a lot of that has to do with y'all too. Whenever you run people off of Twitter and you ban people from Twitter, and when you get them banned from Facebook and you go ahead and try and take away their livelihood, they're not going to support you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's my biggest issue with this whole debacle about this whole transgender thing is that, I feel like some of these people, and they will sit there and they'll come out, like, for example, that whole shooting that happened here in Nashville, when those 6 people got killed and 4 kids got killed by that transgender woman who wanted to be a man. The story behind that is they were in love with their best friend, who was a female. The female did not want to be with them. She only liked men. So this female decided to get fucked. It was fucked up in the head already. Decided that she wanted to become a man. And when that didn't work, she wrote a letter and a text message saying, I'm going to go and do something. And what they don't really understand about that situation is that people like that need mental help, and they should have gotten mental help, and they should have been nowhere near having a gun like that. But what really bothered me was this transgender, this lesbian on TikTok did a video saying that the reason why she supported what this transgender person did to this Catholic school, which surprisingly the shooter went to when she was younger. She supported it because our governor here decided that he was going to do a bill that got rid of drag shows, and there were some sickening people who were actually supporting the fact that this girl went in there and killed 3 teachers and 4 kids.
Yeah, and then we got to sit there and wonder, okay, you get mental health, but now you can't really even trust the facilities anymore to do the right thing by that as well. And here's the problem, is how do you, right, we'll go ahead and say, you know what, leftist, we're going to leave you alone. We'll give you California, Oregon, Washington, we'll give you the whole left coast. All the people that are, right-leaning, conservative, or should I say, not leftist, not communist left, y'all can, we'll give you free property over here in the United States. Everybody that's on the left, go to the West Coast, right? And we'll give it to them. Do you think that they'd be able to function amongst themselves?
Nope.
I don't think so neither. Like I said, most of the people, a lot of the people that I work with tend to be leftist. You know what I'm saying? They tend to lean left. A lot of them are old Obama voters. Some are, yeah. So you got, here's what you get. You get the socialist. These are your analytic Vosh type that pretend like they know everything. They pretend like they're 10 times smarter than everybody else. They speak like a speak and spell out, due to the, and it's just how they're monotone. You know what I'm saying? And it's always statistics this and peer-reviewed study that and blah, 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 blah. So then you have those people. Then you have the old school business Democrats, is what I'll call them. And they're the ones that, find loopholes, find ways, try to scam the system. And then, so they don't get along with the socialists because the socialists are just basic analytic, boring as hell. And they don't get along because the socialists think that they're smarter than everybody. Well, the business Democrats think that they're smarter than everybody. And then you got the hoity-toity leftist there that's all happy-go-lucky, that's your original liberal probably. And they don't like these guys because they think that they're the smartest person in the room. And so he doesn't like the original business Democrat. He doesn't like the socialist and him don't really respect each other. They get along okay, but they kind of get a little bit of a rift there. And then you get the BLM types, the strong BLM, and then they don't get along with anybody because they think that they're being oppressed by everybody, that they're entitled to everybody else's position, and that they're the smartest person if everybody would just listen to them. And then they don't get along with these people. And then you get the LGBTQ people who will, the socialists will end up, because they're a little bit younger, they're not the older, so they need to form alliances. And so they'll start to form alliances against each other, and it's just absolutely insane. And this is why I told the guy, look, if it ever broke down in the Civil War, y'all would be screwed. Because none of y'all people can work as a team together. Y'all can't cover down for each other. Y'all can't trust each other. Y'all are constantly trying to stab each other in the back. And y'all can work better with myself and the other Trump voter that's here, because we're just here to work. We're not taking everything so seriously. We're not trying to micromanage everything. We're not trying to control everybody. We're just here to do a job. We'll go out there and do the job, and that's why, I'm a supervisor, you know what I'm saying? Is because, you got to lead. I'm a leader. I'm not a boss, I'm out there doing it first. If it's cold outside, I'm not going to send you outside to go jumpstart a car. I'll go outside, I'll jumpstart the car, and then I'll come back inside. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to, make sure that it's done, and if I'm going to send somebody else out to do it, I'm going to do it too. So they need to know that. But these guys here try to control everybody, and that's the problem. And
then you have these transgenders who are posting videos with assault, they have assault weapons, and they're threatening to shoot people like you and me. And it's that's what Poston's trying to say is if there was a civil war between us and you guys would be toast. There would be no. It would be it would pretty much be a massacre at that point.
Oh, it would be over before it started because you wouldn't even know I was there. You would just cease to exist because I'm not going to telegraph it. I'm not going to, if it pops off and it goes live, and like I said, if it ever did, I don't think it will. Not in a Civil War scenario. I do think it will go live in a World War III scenario, which, considering what our military is, and how expendable a lot of the Democrats are, it's not looking good for you guys, to be honest with you. But if it was to go off and it was to go live in a Civil War, it's not going to be telegraphed. It's not going to be your Call of Duty shit. It's not. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be Battlefield or whatever the hell video games you play. That's not how it operates. And if it were to ever go live, then, like I said, a lot of these leftists wouldn't even know. They would. That's if. First off, and this is the thing, is I told them I don't even know if we would. I was telling my supervisor, because like I said, he was fire service military, And I said, I don't even know if we would have to fire a shot, because the moment that they tried to actually form and do any kind of real maneuvers and try to get themselves in position, I think they would kill each other, to be honest with you.
You know, because they would be, because this is the same generation who thinks it's cool to eat the bathroom pods and stick like stuff up their noses, and they're so dwelling for attention. They have so much ADHD that they would turn on each other because they would be thinking that you're trying to jack my style, bitch. And while they're sitting there arguing, we would have already massacred them. By the time
dude,
they would have been done.
That's what I was telling Stephen Rose, and particularly whenever I first started doing this job, and then I became supervisor shortly after. These guys would turn on each other, and I said, the only people that keep them together are people like you, myself, my supervisor. We're the only ones that can reasonably keep y'all in check to where y'all cause less harm to yourself. So without us, that you wouldn't want to live in a world full of leftists at all. You wouldn't want to live amongst yourselves, for sure.
Well, see, I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's somebody at work who's she's a female, but she's a big liberal and stuff like that. But she does not like one of the other coworkers because he's one of those theorists that believes Earth's flat and all that. So they have a difference of opinion. So what I did one day was I took the bull by its horn, and I told her, I was like, look, it's okay to have a difference of opinion. I know you went to school for astrology and you have a degree on it. I get it. But, that's what Poston meant by that, is that we can hold you guys at bay and be like, hey, cool your jets. I know you're upset about that person, but don't let that get to you. Just keep doing what you're doing. Don't even pay attention to him. Just realize that his opinion is an opinion and yours is an opinion too.
Well, to be fair, the astrology was created by the Babylonians. That's where you get all your astrology from. Guess what? The Babylonians thought the Earth was flat too. So,
yeah, I know.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I've just got to point that out a little bit. That's where the whole word university comes from. It's from the study, but they didn't think that the Earth was round. I have a little bit of fun with the, flat Earth thing sometimes. It just depends. Because ultimately I'll go ahead and be confined to sit there and say, I don't know. I can assume that the Earth is round, is a sphere, is a ball. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
However, with that being said, I don't know. I've only seen it from Earth. I can only just take it on good faith that it is.
One of the last very few things I was going to bring up was that I know Poston knows what I'm talking about here. I have an issue with liberals that don't let you finish your sentence. And point in case, apparently there's a Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina. He's a black conservative Republican. And Joy Behar made a comment of saying that he's not really black because he's conservative and all this stuff. So what did he do? He went on The View. She didn't show up as obvious because she was too chicken to show up. So then they have this one host on there called Sunny Holston, and she is the nasty who thinks that there is a press and thinks that they're still in the 1960s and the 1950s and that they're still the minority and all that. He pretty much schooled them with trying to explain that he went through poverty, he went through this, but he worked hard and he became something. He took something out of nothing and became something. And every time he kept trying to explain that, she would interrupt. Whoopi Goldberg would go to commercial break. They would come back. They would interrupt him again. He would try to explain, interrupt him again. That's why people like you and I, or people who have difference of opinion, can't go to other people's channels or other people's shows and have an opinion like that.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's like, I've seen this one thing where this guy was trying to compare law enforcement to slavery and yada yada yada, and that it was there for slavery. Well, the institution of law enforcement also started in Babylon, buddy. And to be honest with you, the first slaves were actually white. That's where slaves comes from, is from Slavics. Now, were there indentured servant people taken into captivity and used as slaves before that? Yeah. But with that being said, that's where your word slavery comes from, is from Slavic. They were the first slaves. That being said, they always talk about reparations. It was the Spanish that brought y'all over here, and it was the black Africans that actually enslaved the black Americans that we have over here right now. It wasn't white people going to Africa to accumulate. So who's paying these reparations that you want so much? Because there's a lot of parties involved. And like I said, it wasn't the Anglo-Saxons in this country that started slavery. They were the ones to end slavery. So,
Well,
you know.
what you're forgetting, Houston, what you're forgetting is, you know, I'm just talking like a liberal here. What you're forgetting is that your kind came onto this land and you stole from the Indians.
Yeah, but that, you know, the Indians, we're Africans, all right?
It's just...
Yeah, now, I'm part Native American, so, you know.
Yep.
So, I mean, you know, hey, yeah, you're telling, you know, you're preaching to the choir on that one, and believe it or not, we've kind of moved on from that. We want to know exactly where we're going, not where we've been. And so, you know, I'm not going to sit there and say that in some way, shape, or form, me saying, oh, well, my people, because, you know, fucking the Trail of Tears, I mean, they're like, you know, you killed millions, you know, killed millions in this country. But, you know, the Indians they can't do the same thing with the Indians, because the Indians are not, well, first off, Indians are going to be reluctant to trust anybody. And with good fucking reason, because the Indians always get screwed at the end. They understand this game a little bit better. But, you know, it's a marginalized group. I don't put all black people on there like that, but
No.
the ones that end up getting a platform, it's the same thing with the homosexual community. The LGBT, I don't want to call it the LGBTQ, the homosexual community, right? It's always your worst people that get the platform, that pretend to advocate for you, and that ends up being the issue. So now you have a bunch of your people trying to advocate for pedophilia. You have a bunch of the black people out there trying to instigate a race war. And they by no means speak for a majority of that population at all.
No.
And so whenever you give these people, you're putting the worst people on this platform, on these platforms, you're giving the worst people the exposure. And this ends up being the problem. This is why you have a lot of mental issues today, is you're giving the wrong people the exposure. And people will invest in, like, these people, thinking that they're going to get something out of it. You're not going to get anything out of it. If you're going to pretend to be a victim, then you're going to stay a victim. And that's not going to change. You know, anything with the leftists going on with, like, the whole deal with, they want to go ahead and raise the minimum wage to $20 an hour. I don't even think I would be okay. I think $10 maybe, $9.50 would probably be my preferred. That's going to be as high as I go, is $10. That's it. No higher than that. Reasonably, I'll say $10. But, you know, it's not going to solve anything. Raising minimum wage to $20 an hour, raising minimum wage to $15 an hour isn't going to solve anything. Ultimately, you know, I concur with a buddy of mine. I don't believe we should have any minimum wage, because I don't think that the government should regulate on the agreement between two individuals anyways. So I don't believe that there needs to be any minimum wage, you know. But, you know, we could sit there and see with the left that they're, you know, they're not good at economics. They're not good at social well-being or whatnot, you know, as far as society, social issues. they're not good at diplomacy, because we can tell right now with the shit that's going on in Ukraine and China and Russia. Why are you voting left? To be honest with you, it just doesn't make any sense. But like I said, and this is with me saying that I'll probably end up voting for Biden and my conservative representative, Ted Cruz again. I'll vote for Ted again, and I'll vote for John Cornyn, and I'll vote for Robert Flores, and I'll vote for Joe Biden, because ultimately, Donald Trump has missed the mark for me, and the Democrats have as well. And so yeah, that's where we're at right now, man.
I mean, honestly, the one thing I would tell anybody, and this is like something to live on for some of you liberals when you see this video. The biggest thing you guys have to understand is, and you guys have the right to have your opinion. You have the right, because that's what the First Amendment gives you. But we have the First Amendment right to disagree with you, and we can't. And whining and trying to shut us down is not the way this country was raised to be. And the more you guys realize, the better. Honestly, it's better for you guys to get along with us. It's better to get along to go along than it is to fight with each other, because the more we fight with each other, one thing you guys don't understand is that the government wants us to fight. They want everybody to be against each other. And Poston will probably maybe agree with me on this, but when you get a candidate that gets into office and you're wondering why that candidate's not doing everything that they said they were going to do, well, it's kind of like NASCAR. If a candidate can come out wearing a suit that's saying they're sponsored by Pfizer, sponsored by this, sponsored by that, they get money from these companies, and oil companies and all this other stuff, because they have to do a favor for these companies when they're in office. And some of you are like, well, why don't they put us first? Well, we don't make them money.
That too, and it's like, everything is so superficial now.
Yeah.
And this is why they can't get, they've tried so much to indoctrinate people and to use their Operation Mockingbirds and to try and get to so much now, where they've banned so many people that it's just not having any more effects anymore. And this is where it becomes into dangerous territories. Because I guarantee you, we have 5 more years right now. If we were to stop right now, which it doesn't look like we will, particularly since it looks like they're going to raise the debt ceiling. If we stop printing money right now, and we started cutting programs right now, we would still have 5 more years of 8% of inflation at the very minimum. So that means that the prices that you're paying right now, if you think you're overpaying for gas, whatever it is right now, I don't know. I forgot how much I had to pay for gas whenever I went there. I think it was like 3 something, but it's going to increase for the next 5 years at least a bare minimum of 8%. I'm trying to be conservative here. You know what I'm saying? So, 8% over the next 5 years that your prices are going to continuously go up. And so, with that being said, whenever it's harder to feed your family, whenever you can't afford your day-to-day stuff that you get, then that's whenever it's going to be an issue. And then your Operation Mockingbird is not going to save you. And the ones that are going to be out there in the street, en masse, doing these, is going to be the ones that you've already radicalized. All these people are going to be the ones. Because why would I go out there and put up any kind of real strategic operation against these people right now? And I'm telling you, the ones that are going to be screwed the most are the ones that are, in media of some sort, whether it's social media or if it's in, the administrators of these social media networks or the mainstream media networks. They're going to be the ones that are screwed, because y'all are going to be the most expendable ones, and plus y'all are a liability. I mean, this is, God, I can't think of the communist guy's name, but it's Yuri something or another. I forget what his name is. But he actually broke this down in the 80s. That you're a liability. And, you know, y'all are going to be the ones that are going to be the sacrificial lamb. Some of the politicians, particularly on a local level, that are these left-leaning, y'all are going to be the ones that are going to be targeted. We've seen this happen before in history, so don't think that it's a stretch and it can't happen. We've seen it happen to Mussolini in Italy. We've seen it happen in France with the French Revolution. I mean, it just happens ever so often. So, you know,
and I think the first time that the United States has been in inflation, Peter. So some of y'all are probably thinking, "Oh my God, this is the first time ever." No, do your homework. It's not the first time.
But at the rate that they inflated from Obama until Trump is absolutely, which is another reason why I'm probably not going to vote for Trump. Trump was responsible for this inflation as well. Don't think that it's Biden's inflation. This inflation has been building up and coming. And in fact, I done videos, if I still had my channel up, you know, talking about how this was going to hit years ago, back in 2014, 2013, whenever I first started. So, you know, you had people out here on the internet warning you about it. So there's no way that people are going to be able to claim ignorance. And that's going to be the real kicker right there, is they're not going to be able to claim ignorance because there's so many of us that they banned trying to sit there and prevent this from getting to this where we're at right now, that, you know, people are going to sit there and say, well, we knew this was coming. How did you not know? They could do that in 2008. They can't do that right now. So, you know, with their little attacks on the economy and whatnot, the ones that are going to be on the ground level are their own people. You're about to be judged by a jury of your own peers, and it's not going to be pretty. And like I said, you know, we could stop it right now. We could do tribunals right now, and maybe you'll get some leniency. Because me, myself, I'm not for necessarily capital punishment, public execution, stuff like that. I would prefer them, you know, the people that are responsible for the most part. I would, if it'd be me, I would have them exiled to like Greenland or something, or Antarctica somewhere. Use them as forced labor, and like, you know, what they got going on in China right now, and, you know, contribute back to the United States. Cheaper manufacturing, you know, just put them in an area that's in, you know, that's not hospitable climate-wise. That way, if they escape, then, you know, certainly you wouldn't make it that long. So it would deter you from escaping. But put them in like one of these like workshops, forced labor camps. But I could tell you right now, with the way that it's going, and whenever, like I said, whenever it does go live, it's going to be, right now, the direction that we're going, it's going to be more like Mussolini. You know, that's going to be, because these people are not, you know, and this is people that were left of me. They were left of me, I'd say, back in 2014, 2015, they were left of me, these people were. But now they're radically right of me. And so, that pendulum I noticed, being in the center, I can notice when the pendulum swings by. So now these people are right of me. And, you know, it's just like right now, I'll talk to them and say, you know what, I don't have a lot of confidence in Trump. I'm not going to vote for Trump. These people are dead set MAGA. You know, they're dead set, let's go Brandon, fuck Joe Biden. That's how right they are. And like me, I don't have a lot of confidence in Trump. But like I said, I consider myself more of a centrist as opposed to being on the left or the right. Like I said, there are people on the left that I do like. I think that, like Tulsi Gabbard or RFK Jr., I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that Tulsi says, for sure, but I don't agree with everything that they say, but I like them okay. You know what I'm saying? Depending on who they were running against, I might consider voting for them. But, no, I mean, you know, right now, I think that, like, the State Department particularly, because State Department has never voted for Republicans. And this is how you know the Democrat are the party of nationalists. Because if they weren't a party of nationalists, D.C. would have voted for Republicans during certain times, you know. But they've never voted Republican. So that's your national party, is the Democrat Party. They want to call everybody else white nationalists, but that's your nationalist party, is the Democrat Party. So.
Yeah. Well, since we've been on this discussion, we'll stop it at this. But I just wanted to thank you for coming on here, and I know you're probably going to get a lot of heat when you put this on BitChute and was it Rumble?
Yeah, I'll put it on BitChute and I'll put it on Rumble.
Yeah, you're probably going to, I remember seeing you get those screenshots from some supporters of Trump that were not very friendly towards you. But, that goes with the territory with, if someone really likes someone, then you talk bad about them, they're going to come at you with pitchforks. And that's just the nature of the beast. But is there anything else you want to add, though? Because I figure we will end it at this. But I know I would like to kind of get together eventually and talk about World War III and maybe about Armageddon and things of that nature with it. So.
Yeah, we could do that, totally. No, I'm kind of like you. I got to get up early in the morning, but I will try and record this. Hopefully I'll get this all on my Mobizen. I can record it on my Mobizen and then upload it to BitChute and Rumble because I kind of want to get it up there, hopefully tonight. So.
All right, well, everybody, follow the Prodigal Hill on YouTube and like, share, sub for me. Like I said, though, we're not gonna give you like the same old narrative bullshit that most of these other channels give you, because that's just not how we all roll around here. But anyways, thank you for some of y'all were viewing. I didn't know who all viewed. I know King Twister commented, but we had a couple that came through but didn't leave a comment. But if you have a difference of opinion, leave a comment after you see this video.